Since the dawn of human history, the pursuit of divine protection and spiritual healing has occupied a central place in the experience of faith. The feeling of vulnerability, both physical and emotional, drives humans to seek signs and manifestations of a higher power capable of intervening in moments of danger and suffering. Miracles, blessings, and spiritual interventions have been reported across various religious traditions, not merely as extraordinary events, but as profound lessons about the nature of faith, hope, and connection with the divine. Each account of healing or protection serves as a mirror, reflecting the importance of sincere devotion and an open heart towards spiritual forces that transcend the physical world. The presence of the sacred manifests not only in spectacular acts, but also in subtle signs that guide, comfort, and strengthen those willing to recognize and accept the action of God or the divine in their lives. Within the biblical context, we find numerous narratives exemplifying these teachings and miracles. Healing the sick, protecting the vulnerable, and delivering from imminent dangers recur as demonstrations of divine care. Each miracle is not merely an act of power, but also a spiritual lesson. They teach us the importance of active faith, perseverance in adversity, and trust in divine providence. A central point of these accounts is the relationship between belief and action. Faith is not passive. It requires openness, surrender, and the willingness to align one's life with the spiritual principles taught in the scriptures. Healing, therefore, is both physical and symbolic, representing the restoration of body, mind, and spirit, demonstrating that true protection transcends the physical and reaches the entirety of the self. Miracles associated with divine protection often involve extreme risk situations, where the human outcome would inevitably be tragic without spiritual intervention. These events not only strengthen the faith of those involved, but also serve as testimonies for the community, inspiring hope and courage. Daniel's narrative in the lion's den, for example, demonstrates not only the preservation of life in the face of imminent danger, but also the confirmation that sincere faith can generate an invisible protective shield, a tangible manifestation of divine care. Such accounts reinforce the principle that true devotion attracts protection and establishes a direct connection between human action rooted in faith and the response of the Creator or higher spiritual forces. Another fundamental lesson emerging from these miracles is the necessity of perseverance and patience. Divine protection and healing are often not instantaneous. They require time, waiting, and unwavering trust, even in the face of doubt and suffering. This process teaches that faith is not a tool for the immediate acquisition of benefits, but a continuous practice of spiritual alignment and trust. Patience amid adversity is, therefore, a tangible demonstration of spiritual maturity, revealing that true protection is not merely the absence of danger, but the inner strength developed through surrender and trust in the divine. The connection between miracles and spiritual teachings also reveals the communal dimension of faith. Often, accounts of healing and protection are not solely individual experiences, but events that impact entire communities, strengthening bonds, renewing hope, and inspiring behavior aligned with spiritual principles. Stories of collective healing or mass protection reflect the idea that shared faith has amplified power, demonstrating that the spiritual energy generated by collective devotion can serve as a channel for extraordinary manifestations of care and divine intervention. This perspective emphasizes that divine protection is not merely a personal experience, but also a reflection of the harmony between individual devotion and collective spirituality. Miracles also teach us about the importance of gratitude and acknowledgement. The healing or protection received should not be regarded merely as an isolated event, but as an invitation to reflect on one's life and relationship with the divine. Expressing gratitude and recognizing the role of faith in spiritual protection transforms the miracle into a pedagogical instrument capable of reinforcing values of humility, generosity, and trust. Each testimony of divine intervention is an opportunity to understand that true healing is not limited to the physical body, but extends to the mind, spirit, and human relationships, establishing a cycle of learning and strengthening faith. In many traditions, the symbolism of healing and protective miracles extends beyond the individual, reflecting universal principles that guide human conduct. They remind us that life is permeated by invisible forces, that harmony between the material and spiritual world is essential, and that faith not only transforms perceptible reality, but also shapes consciousness, morality, and resilience. Each act of divine protection or miraculous healing serves as a beacon, illuminating paths of spiritual understanding, encouraging trust in greater plans, and reinforcing the idea that true security and well-being derive from alignment with the divine. The chapter on spiritual teachings and miracles further emphasizes the interconnection between faith and action. Prayer, meditation, devotion, and ethical practice are elements that open channels for divine intervention. The miracle is not merely an external event, but the culmination of a process of surrender, trust, and spiritual alignment. This principle demonstrates that healing and protection do not occur by chance, but through the conjunction of human will to seek the divine and the response of the Creator, creating a dynamic relationship between spiritual effort and miraculous manifestation. Moreover, miracles associated with healing and divine protection often involve elements of inner transformation. The individual receiving the miraculous intervention experiences not only physical relief or deliverance from danger, but also undergoes a process of deep spiritual learning. This pedagogical aspect of miracles highlights that true protection and healing are multifaceted. They restore physical integrity, strengthen the mind, purify the spirit, and renew faith, demonstrating that the divine purpose goes far beyond the immediate and visible. Another central point is the role of faith as a catalyst for divine intervention. Many accounts show that the sincere and intense faith of the individual, even in the face of extreme suffering, is a determining factor for the occurrence of the miracle. This principle emphasizes that connection with the divine is not passive. It requires a profound and ongoing commitment, an active choice to trust, persevere, and maintain devotion regardless of circumstances. Faith, therefore, functions as a channel that allows divine protection and healing to manifest concretely and transformatively in the believer's life. In summary, spiritual teachings and miracles associated with healing and divine protection are not mere extraordinary accounts. They constitute a compendium of lessons about the nature of faith, the importance of perseverance, the value of gratitude, and the strength of the connection between humans and the divine. Each narrative serves as an invitation to reflection, a call to align life with spiritual principles, strengthen resilience in the face of adversity, and recognize that true protection transcends the physical, reaching the entirety of the being. Through careful observation of these miracles and teachings, we are inspired to cultivate a faith that does not depend on external circumstances, but manifests as strength, courage, and hope, regardless of the challenges life presents. Thus, the exploration of these miracles and teachings leads us to a broader understanding of spirituality. Divine healing and protection are tangible signs of the sacred in our lives, tools for learning, and reminders that true devotion, active faith, and trust in the Creator are paths to integrity, peace, and spiritual transformation. By recognizing and understanding these principles, we are invited to live consciously, strengthened by the certainty that divine protection is accessible, real, and profoundly educational, guiding us toward a life of resilient and enlightened faith. The practice of faith, when guided by sincere devotion, reveals that miracles and divine protection do not occur in isolation, but are intrinsically linked to a life of balance, ethics, and spiritual connection. Every act of kindness, every fervent prayer, and every moment of complete surrender to the divine will create fertile ground for miraculous intervention to manifest. These signs of healing and protection serve as constant reminders that humans are not alone in the face of adversity, and that a higher plan exists even when challenges seem insurmountable. In many traditions, faith not only creates an atmosphere of protection, but also harmonizes the individual with universal spiritual forces, allowing divine energy to flow and transform risky situations into experiences of learning and empowerment. It is also observed that protective miracles often manifest in subtle ways, which may go unnoticed at first. A providential encounter that prevents an accident, an unexpected recovery from illness, or an inexplicable sense of safety during moments of danger can all be interpreted as divine interventions. The subtlety of these events reinforces the idea that the presence of God, or the divine is not limited to dramatic spectacles. It permeates all aspects of daily life, teaching that spiritual protection is not always visible, yet it is profoundly real and transformative. This understanding invites the development of a sensitive perception, an attuned awareness to recognize signs, and to act with gratitude toward each manifestation of divine care. A crucial aspect of these teachings is the relationship between faith and courage. Divine protection does not eliminate challenges, but strengthens the ability to face them with confidence and serenity. Courage, in this context, arises from the certainty that a higher power is guiding, supporting, and preserving those who choose to remain faithful, even in the face of imminent danger. This spiritual courage becomes an example for others, inspiring communities to maintain hope, perseverance, and dedication, even when adversity threatens the structures of human life. Faith thus becomes an invisible shield, an inner support that allows one to resist, learn, and grow through difficulties. Moreover, healing miracles often involve an inner transformation dimension. The experience of recovery or deliverance from danger frequently brings a new perspective on life, awakening feelings of humility, gratitude, and connection with the divine. Physical miracles are only the surface of profound spiritual regeneration. The soul is strengthened, consciousness expands, and the individual begins to perceive life with greater clarity and sensitivity. This internal transformation is one of the most significant aspects of divine protection, as it demonstrates that true miracles are not limited to the preservation of the body, but include the evolution of the spirit and the consolidation of genuine faith, capable of facing future adversities with confidence and serenity. The communal aspect of divine protection and healing also deserves emphasis. Accounts of miracles often involve collective testimonies, reinforcing the importance of shared faith. When a community recognizes divine intervention, collective trust increases, the spirit of unity is strengthened, and individuals find emotional and spiritual support in one another. This multiplying effect of faith demonstrates that miracles are not merely individual experiences, but opportunities for transformation that impact an entire network of relationships, creating a cycle of protection, learning, and spiritual growth that extends beyond the individual and resonates throughout the community. The practice of gratitude and recognition of received protection is another central element. Gratitude is not only an emotional response, but also a spiritual act that amplifies connection with the divine. Each miracle or act of protection received is an opportunity to reflect on one's life, strengthen faith, and cultivate virtues, such as humility, patience, and generosity. Recognizing divine intervention transforms extraordinary experiences into lasting lessons, reminding us that God's presence is constantly at work in our lives, even when we do not immediately perceive it. Another essential point is that divine protection often requires cooperation and active participation from the individual. Prayer, meditation, ethical practice, and living according to spiritual principles are elements that prepare the ground for the manifestation of miracles. Faith, therefore, is not passive. It is a dynamic force that creates openness for divine action to unfold. This interaction between human action and divine intervention reveals that miracles and protection are part of a continuous dialogue between the individual and the Creator, where surrender, trust, and perseverance are essential for the intervention to occur fully and transformatively. Stories of healing and protection also highlight the role of spiritual discernment. Being able to recognize signs, listen to intuition, and perceive divine guidance allows the individual to align with higher purposes, even amid challenges. This discernment is cultivated through consistent practice of faith, reflection, and careful observation of life around us. It demonstrates that divine protection is not a guarantee of the absence of difficulties, but a path of guidance, resilience, and continuous learning that prepares the soul to face challenges consciously and strengthened. In summary, spiritual teachings associated with healing and divine protection are not merely extraordinary accounts of miraculous events. They constitute a living school of spiritual principles that teach about faith, perseverance, gratitude, and inner transformation. Each divine intervention is an invitation to reflect on one's own life, a call to align thoughts, attitudes, and actions with divine principles, strengthening resilience and enhancing spiritual awareness. Divine protection and healing are signs that, even in the face of the greatest adversities, a higher power is at work, guiding, preserving, and supporting those who choose to trust and surrender to faith. Therefore, understanding and internalizing these teachings means realizing that true protection goes beyond the physical body, reaching the mind, heart, and spirit. It is to recognize that miracles and divine interventions are instruments that strengthen, teach, and transform, showing that sincere devotion, active faith, and continuous gratitude are reliable paths to a life of balance, courage, and deep connection with the divine. Studying and reflecting on these principles invites us to live more consciously, attentive to signs, confident in the presence of the divine, and inspired to cultivate a resilient and enlightened faith, capable of facing any adversity with serenity and trust.